Good morning, my beautiful people, and welcome back to Sun Up on 7. So just before the break, we were joined with Hiro Balane, CEO of Finance Belize, as well as Her Excellency Ambassador Catherine Main, Ambassador of Belize in Taiwan. They were discussing strengthening financial services ties between Belize and Taiwan. Amazing things happening there, guys. Again, it won't happen just overnight, but it takes some time. But something that does not happen overnight as well are policies. And guess what, guys? We're launching a new Belize policy tracker. It's launching tomorrow. And persons responsible for this is BelPri-UB, which is the Belize Policy Research Institute at UB.
You know, he said it so well this morning, right?
I know.
Now, when you come wrong and get nervous, you say, I don't want to mess it up.
But with us on the couch this morning, we have Mr. Dylan Vernon. Yes, another Vernon joins us on our couch this morning.
Back today.
Executive Director of BelPri UB, as well as Mr. Devon Paulino, who's the Policy Analyst at BelPri at UB as well. But exciting things, because we also understand that this is the 1-year anniversary. We're reaching the 1-year anniversary of BelPri.
Oh, yes. Good morning, and Brandon and Renata. Thanks for having us on. And yes, yesterday, 1 year ago, BelPri launched at the University of Belize in Belmopan. And so we have had 1 year of life. And in that 1 year, we have done quite a bit. We had 1 staff then, we have 4 now. We have an office here in Belize City at the UB campus, and we have had several products, publications, including, I was on a few months ago when we launched the Belizean economy in the 21st century. Yes, and that's an example of one of our major research papers. But we also have, in between that and a newsletter we call Policy Pulse, in between that a new publication called Critical Voices, which gives Belizeans who have done some research but haven't published some outlet to share policy ideas. And we've had seminars, we've signed MOUs with national and international organizations. We have policy research underway, for example, on the national budget, and one on campaign finance regulation. And those are pretty well in train. And we have other things in the pipeline, exciting things in the pipeline. But we're here today to celebrate our first anniversary by launching the Belize Policy Tracker. And, you know, when BelPri first started last year, one of the things we realized in our strategic planning was that for us to be effective, we have to know what's out there. We have to know what policies are out there. We have to identify the gaps.
Right.
But when we began to look, there was no one place you could go and say, well, let me see what is our policy on tourism or health or education or crime or mental health. There was nothing you could do.
Yeah.
And so, because we need information, we said we're going to do a policy mapping. We're going to collect as many as possible. And then we're going to put this in a format that is easily accessible to everyone, a public service. And so that's how the idea was born. And so what has happened, in addition to deciding to do it, is that the research phase happened, and Devon will talk more about that, but it wasn't easy to gather all the policies.
I couldn't imagine. Look underneath every nook and cranny and rock and all kind of things.
When they put this one at table long time.
What were some of the challenges, Devon, you would say?
So because there's no central location on any one of the ministry website, we had to write to CEOs, we had to do, it's desk research, so we had to reach out to a lot of people. There were some that I was aware of. And so it was just the mapping phase, reaching out to people who I know, the policies that exist, Google searches. It was a very tedious process, but
there were some
we're here now.
There were some ministries that would respond and say, here are policy. Others, people, we didn't know we had that, or something like that.
I could imagine that was the case indeed, picking up policies that, when was this even drafted? When was this?
Did you find a lot of outdated policies?
So there are some outdated ones. that may be something that we look into later on, but we're trying to just map the ones that are currently in existence. And this is where the tracker comes in to educate people. Some people may not know a policy may exist on gender. And so here we have the tracker.
So after identifying these policies, and one of the things we had to do was to say, we can't go back too far because policies had already expired, as you were saying. So we focused on the more current ones, the ones that we thought might be amended and revised. That led to the collection so far of, what's the number we have?
Over 80.
Over 80 policies. And that's not all of them, but these are the ones we are beginning with.
We have 80 policies in Belize right now.
In existence.
And then we had to conceptually design how we're going to present this. And so we contacted people in the region, including the Jamaican accountability meter portal, which tracks accountability issues. We got some good practices from them as well as from others. And we then hired a software designer to put this concept that we had into software and into a usable, user-friendly design. And that took some time. And of course, you have to collate the policies, do summaries, and so it took a long time to get the database ready. But we got it ready to a point a few months ago where we said we are ready to put it in and to launch. And so that's what we're doing tomorrow at the University of Belize in Belmopan, 10 o'clock at the UB conference room. And we will be pushing the button and sharing the policy tracker. The Honorable Dr. Osmond Martinez will be our guest speaker, and he will help us to do the launch tomorrow. He is the Minister of State, as you know, for Economic Transformation.
So this is going to be big. How much policies are we looking at again?
We're looking at over 80 currently.
Because it's going to be updated continuously.
Yes.
And you know the thing what it boggled my mind right now is all the work that Mr. Vernon here has talked about, but they have only been in existence for a year. So practically, like from day one when they start this thing, so how long did this take, really?
It took a while. Yeah, about that.
8 months, yeah.
About eight.
To get from concept to what we're launching tomorrow.
Wow.
And a big part of that was collecting the policies, collating them, and because, as Devon will say, we are providing a summary of each. We had to then read them, go through each one, do a summary, say when it was launched, if it's still in existence, when it expires, but
my gosh,
the user-friendly nature of this tool is something that we're proud of, and Devon could speak to that. Yeah.
Right. So we do know that policies do not only impact professionals. So we've tried to we have made it very user-friendly, in the sense that you could go. It will be placed on the on BelPri's page on the UB website. And so you can go online, search it after the launch tomorrow.
I had to wait patiently because it's going to be.
Definitely. So what happened is there is an option to search policies by tags or by phrases. So maybe you want to look up policies for health. And so you could type in health in the platform. You could search by the year it was published. You could search by the public entity responsible for the policy, and various tags. Now, when you go on the platform and you click, there's an option to view and download the policy document.
Oh, nice.
When you click that, it will then take you to the actual document where there's a summary. So we've taken time out to read through these policies to ensure that as a user, you'd want to know, okay, what this policy is about. And so there's a summary of that, and the year the policy was published and the time span. And so that will be a part of our tracking and monitoring. And there is a section on it as well, when we're talking about user-friendly, where you can actually create a profile that will allow you to subscribe to a policy or a public entity, whereby if there's an update on the policy, which we will be doing, the staff at BelPri, you will be able to get a notification that this policy has been updated or there is a change.
Wow.
There's a feature where you can also comment on the policy, and that brings us into the policy discussion. We want citizens to be involved in the policy discourse in Belize, and so there's that. Yeah.
I hope you know, Devon, that you've created you both created a effective tool for us lawyers here. Right?
And for media people, journalists.
Definitely.
If you are writing a story on tourism and you want to see what's cruise tourism policy, you don't have to call the ministry anymore. Go look, you go on this site, bam, one step, and you get it.
For free.
For free. You just
and that's the idea.
I'm hoping also persons, if they go on the app and they're seeing that there is a policy that they have that is not included, that they would contact you also.
Indeed.
Because we don't have eyes everywhere.
Absolutely. In fact, in our brief, we do state that this is a base. And this is a community effort for all of us to build this. And so we will receive not only policies that we don't have yet from people who say, oh, but this exists, you don't have that. And we will add it. But we also make any corrections or changes to summaries that people see. So it's from now on, it's going to be a collective community effort to build it with BelPri at the back end doing the summaries. And one of the things that will take, and Devon will be leading this, is that we have to keep monitoring on a weekly basis developments in policy. Is there a new policy being announced? Is there some sort of white paper? Is a policy being revised? Is one ending? What will be done about it? And so we will be putting up updates on things like that on a regular basis. And for me, one of the key things is that the public in public policy is us. It's you. It's me. It's all of us. And sometimes when we talk about public policy, it's this airy-fairy thing up there, and we're not connected to it. And we aim to make this tool one that bridges that sort of lack of information and connection to the policy with people. Because we're providing a section on it for commentary, it can also be used for consultation, for discussion. If a new policy comes out that is drafted and we put it up and we update and say this new policy is being considered, it could be one of the ways that the government gets feedback, that the ministry gets feedback. And so there are quite a few things we can do with this tool. And it is a tool, and like anything that is a tool, it's how you use it. And a good example is this one. And so we are going to be having a video on the first page that shows how to use the tool. And one of the things that we could add, Devon, is that in addition to all the ways to search, you can also search by who is responsible for the policy, which ministry, which authority in government is responsible for the implementation, well, the creation and implementation, so that we see the progress of creation and implementation and can do some monitoring. We at BelPri also have a section that is for us, which is called policy analysis. And so we will select every now and again a policy to give BelPri's own views on maybe it's a draft for what we think, if it's being implemented, how it's being implemented.
I was going to ask that question because a lot of policies look pretty on a desk and they're not being done, not being implemented. There's no finances for implementation, enforcement.
Correct.
So
it's called policy evaporation in the lexicon.
And we do have a lot of that.
But Dr. Vernon mentioned something key that is built into the platform, and Mr. Asher might like this, in that we have I don't want to speak much on it, but we have draft bills in the system. And that is key because legislation affects everyone, policies affect everyone. And so the discussion feature on the platform allows to give feedback, you know. And so, like Dr. Vernon mentioned, the government can easily go there to see what the public is saying about the draft policies or bills that are in the system.
I love
Look at
that.
y'all. You guys,
Yes.
I love what you did.
Immediately that collects in my head is, has the Bar Association been alerted about this?
We've tried to reach as much entities as possible, the public, and this is a part of it as well, you know.
Yeah.
Informing the public about
Once we launch tomorrow and push that button, we have a promotion of the site that we're going to continue.
Okay.
This is before the launch, but after that, we'll be sharing the exact QR code, the link to it.
To the platform.
And we'll be doing another round of sharing. And then, build it after that. I mean, one of the things that I think that we should mention to Devon is that we couldn't have done all this without the support of the University of Belize. And as you know, one of the missions, one of the objectives of the university is to be a center of excellence in research. And so BelPri fits within that sort of objective of UB. And this is one of the ways where the University of Belize is working for the nation. It is helping through BelPri, to present as a public service this very useful tool for policy making. And by extension, policy making doesn't just sit there as a policy. It all goes towards national development, sustainable development. And so there's a connection, a direct connection to the tool and UB's interests in being a university that works for Belize.
Yeah, nation building, really.
This is exciting. I'm just thinking on the project basis of policies that are needed to be drafted, that do need to be implemented and everything. And our project for people that draft projects and deal with different programs, this is a good tool to actually look at. Also,
Indeed.
because it helps with knowing where finances need to be directed, where there needs to be updates and changes. So I just throw that out there to allow persons to check.
The tool, as you're saying, I think, shows you where the gaps are. Because when you map and then you ask questions, well, do we have a language policy in Belize? We don't. Do we have a migration policy in Belize? No, we don't. And so it shows the areas where they're either very weak policies or none at all.
Yeah.
And I suppose one of the last things that I want to say is that when people go on the site, you will see that we have categorized in at least 4 broad categories what policies are. You have your policy statements, where government will just say a statement, okay, this is what we're going to do with cruise tourism. But it's not written out in any sort of strategic document.
Or traffic.
And then you have your executive cabinet policies that are actually like the youth policy, for example.
Right.
That is, we'll talk about that before we go, but the youth policy would be a cabinet decision, and it is presented by a ministry, and cabinet agrees on it. And then you have legislation, which is the highest form of policy because it becomes a law of the nation that should be followed. And
I love how you're just speaking this.
But everyone wants a policy to be a law, because it gives more teeth and backative to what you're trying to do. And then, of course, there are other things that can be done in terms of just policy guidelines and regulations and the other category. But these are the broad areas that the policy will fit in. And so we categorize all the policies that we do in these areas so that you can know what it is immediately. And if it's a draft, then it is clear that it's a draft. If it is expired, you will see that, and that kind of thing. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to downloading this app and having a fun time.
I know, right? But I think as a final word, I want to ask, probably you, Devon, I want to stress the importance of it and why people need to be interested and invested in this.
Indeed. So you mentioned something key, that sometimes government or public entities produce policies that citizens know nothing about. And so we're trying to educate everyone about policies. For example, there was a policy release 2 weeks ago that the public may not be aware of. And so we have that in the system, and it's a part of our monitoring. You know, policies affect everyone. We want people to be aware of it. We want people to be engaged in the discussion because they affect us. And so that is why people should.
I can just imagine everyday life. Oh, you do something and one day you just barred from doing this one thing that you've always been doing, not realizing that a policy was just passed midnight, gas raising anyways. A policy was passed and you wondering why no, I can't do this thing. I said, well, maybe if you access this actual app, this actual platform, you can see what happened, why it probably happened, why the need for it to happen probably came about. So all of this is on that platform, guys. There's so many different things that you are not aware that you're living by that are in policies. Or things that you probably think that you are living by that done expired long ago.
The expiration of policies is a thing that just gets me. So I'm even going to go into my rant on that, but I'm hoping that persons are mindful of it and they can give them a push to know, because times are changing. So a policy in 2015 has to be updated to the present time of 2026. And a lot of times we wait till more than the 10 years, 5 years of what you're supposed to be updating the policy on to update the policy. So I'm just hoping that this helps. This gives that guidance, that support for persons to see where are the gaps like you mentioned before. But beyond just bringing in a new policy, let's also look at what is there, because there's also people, well, make us start this policy, they never know something was already in place. And then we have wasted resources. But you know what?
You know, Renata, you mentioned that. This is the last thing I'll say. This tool will be also a source of information for research.
Yes.
Because we say things like, well, the policy-making process in Belize needs to improve. There needs to be less policy evaporation, more coordination between ministries. We talk about these things, but we need data to show that is the case. And so we ourselves at BelPri will be taking a look at that. And one of the things we are going to be recommending down the road is how do we improve how we do policy? How do we improve how we do policy? And this tool is going to provide some of that information in terms of some of the best practices, lessons. You spoke about policy evaporation in terms of short-termism. Some policies do not survive an election. It's a policy, and then the other party comes in, and then they ignore that and create something else. That is not the way to do policy, of course. And so we are trying to help create some better practices in that area. And I have to make an announcement that BelPri has been selected by the Ministry of Youth to coordinate the development of the national youth policy for Belize, and we are in the process of beginning to do that. So you'll be hearing more about that as we proceed.
Excitement.
And I know, Renata, you were involved in one of them because I see your name.
In it, so that's why I'm just like, we're going to have a conversation after that.
Most definitely.
You can jump on the platform and put in your dialogue.
I supported with the facilitation of a lot of the consultations for that policy and helping to draft. So I'm looking forward to seeing that one properly be updated and materialized, because there were a lot of hiccups in that. So, looking forward to this, man. Good stuff. Tomorrow, guys, make sure you're getting... What time are we able to download the app? Because I'm putting a reminder.
I need to make a correction. It's not an app as yet.
Okay.
So it's just a platform that's with a link. However, there is a mobile feature where if you access it on your phone, it gives you...
Gotcha.
We have already had suggestions to make it an app, so we look into that. But it's just like an app. I mean, it works just like an app.
Definitely.
And 10 o'clock tomorrow at the UB conference room, and it will be live streamed on the UB page and the BelPri page. And so you can watch it live. And at about 10:30 tomorrow, we will release the app and make it live. I mean the tracker, Belize policy tracker, and make it live, and you will be able to. Everyone will be able to have access to it.
Okay.
Interesting.
So look out for social media pages where you'll see how you access the tracker.
Excitement is coming on the way, guys. Look out and make sure you check out and share the information with others. We unfortunately come to the ending of our show. We have one more minute until evaporation.
For Wednesday alone. We'll be back tomorrow, guys.
We'll be back
But we
tomorrow.
want to thank our guests for coming in. We had BTV coming in talking about the Sustainable Tourism Conference, again, happening from April 27th to April 30th there in San Pedro, as well as 2 days of workshops and 1.5 days of traveling all over Belize for those persons who are interested. I put that website in the actual chat here, onecaribbean.org. We had Finance Belize coming in talking about the strengthening of the financial ties between Belize and Taiwan as well. Amazing things happening there. Guys, I urge you to go ahead on their websites and on their Facebook page or the social media pages in order to learn more about Finance Belize. It's not a loaning institution for those out there. And finally, BelPri coming in, doing their thing with this policy tracker launching tomorrow at UB. It's going to be live stream again, guys. It's very, very important that you Belizeans are out there looking at this thing. I've always said, you know what, withholding of information is withholding of power. This is a platform for you to educate yourselves. Get that power, learn more about our policies in Belize, how they move from policies to legislation itself. That is one of the amazing tools that BelPri is doing for you. Access it, guys. It's at your fingertips. And with that, we've come to the end of our show.
We send you off, guys. It's 8:30. Make sure you're out there getting uncomfortable, because that is how you get comfortable too as well. So, in the spaces that you're at, and we'll see you back here tomorrow. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Muchísimas gracias.